Hi everyone, just going to put the Facebook Live on now. Good afternoon everyone. You're very welcome to the Justice for All Brady campaign. We're just waiting on a sound check. I just want to get confirmation that obviously you can hear us. So I hope everyone had a good weekend. Let's see, here's the first one in those. Perfect, yeah, that's good. So hopefully we've got coverage on everything there. Just give it a second or two, just maybe a couple of people just to join us. Obviously, those of you who've been following Aaron's campaign, both perfect, yeah, lovely, thank you. So obviously, those of you who've been following the lives and the videos over the last few days know we have been focusing somewhat on James Flynn's appeal, and some of Aaron's followers, I think on the YouTube channel, has asked why exactly is James Flynn in the Supreme Court tomorrow. So there is a very detailed description in the description box below, both in YouTube and in Facebook. So please take the time to read through that, and you will see that the bottom line is that, to all intents and purposes, James Flynn has been put forward to be retried for crimes he's already been acquitted of, which is double jeopardy, it's illegal, and it's a farce to all intents and purposes. Now, I suppose it's very important when we take into context the videos we've created in the last couple of days, particularly up around term and feckin, in relation to the what we now know is circumstantial evidence that was used to convict both James and Aaron. Now, you've seen in term and feckin how, with the guarded documents, we have shown how the authorities manipulated and illegally presented evidence to the court and to the jury that basically framed both our son Aaron and James Flynn. And to that end, the Supreme Court the Supreme Court appeal tomorrow is something of a double-edged sword for us, and possibly maybe also for James. We would dearly like to see justice done tomorrow. Now, I'm not sure if we get a decision tomorrow. I think it's a 7-judge panel, and I can't say for sure if the decision will actually be given tomorrow. We may have to wait for the decision. But we would hope that the decision, whether it be tomorrow or it comes in the near future, will be done properly. And James Flynn will be totally exonerated, and James can quite calmly and quietly get on with his life with his wife and his family. Notwithstanding that, if James's appeal is not upheld by the Supreme Court, we very much look forward to the retrial, and several issues, probably scores of issues that were missed in Aaron's trial and James's trial, some of which you've seen in term and feckin. And we have, over the last 5 years, covered extensively not only just term and feckin, but on that Wednesday night itself, when the blue Passat was stolen. So no matter what corner we turn with this case, whether it be going to the Supreme Court, the intimidation court in the CCJ with Aaron and young Dean, the state's case can't stand up to scrutiny because it is a crock of shit. and it is a blight, and it will be seen almost certainly as the darkest time in the Irish judicial system, what has been done to these two young men. And when everything is analysed and put forward to the public, probably eventually it will have to be done by the mainstream media. We have done it in Aaron's campaign, that each and every part of the prosecution is flawed and tampered with. So I mentioned the Wednesday night when the blue Passat was stolen, and the eyewitnesses said it was a grey or silver Passat. It makes absolutely no sense. The night of the burglary, when the Passat was stolen, I think there's 7 journeys that have been logged on CCTV footage. So, to all intents and purposes, you have a blob of light or a vehicle moving between point A and point B, from point B to point C to point D, and so on. And the 7 of them are all either impossible, as we've shown you yesterday in Termafeckin, or absolutely ridiculous. Lockenstein told us in the courtroom during the course of Aaron's trial that the vehicles were travelling in a convoy at high speed. And yet, when we analyse the time and the distances at that certain point when the cars were travelling at high speed, it looks like, well, it doesn't look like, it's presented in court as evidence that it took 7 minutes to travel 1 kilometre. And then when it goes to a retrial, Garda Kenna is going to have to explain properly this time the lies he told in court when he said he didn't do time trials from Monasterboice to Termafeckin. And this is so important because it is the entry point to the whole storyboard of the whole conviction, the whole framing of Aaron and James. And we have a senior guard who was over the CCTV collection, correlation, and examination. And the most vital part of this very start of the storyboard, this bollocks Garda Kenna tells us that he didn't test drive the times from Monasterboice to Termafeckin, and from Termafeckin to Clogherhead, from Clogherhead to Annigassan, from Annigassan to the bed and breakfast, and from the bed and breakfast to Castlebellingham. Didn't do it. So that is the scenario insofar as what the possible outcome of James's Supreme Court appeal tomorrow. So James hopefully will be exonerated, and James will get back to his family and his friends, and he will be free from the shackles of an absolutely abominable bail conditions that still keeps him separated from his family, keeps him out of his family home because he's not allowed to cross the border. Absolutely disgusting. But those conditions was put there to try and trick or to catch James. And obviously James has been very strict and adhered to all the conditions of the bail, albeit him having to stay away from his family home. Sickening what these people have done. And of course, our view of this, and I think we've covered this in previous videos, the idea of all these court cases is to kick the can down the road. Even a retrial for James, well, the decision tomorrow, let's say, the court tomorrow, if there's no decision tomorrow, that will bring us into possibly no decision until May. So we move into the next court sittings, the next term. And then that could be reset then for October or possibly into January 2027. Now, I think these are the dates, like we forecast this over 2 years ago. We forecast this is what was going to happen. And it kicks the can down the road, and the hope that we are going to go away, we are going to disappear, and that everyone will forget about Aaron Brady and James Flynn. But that is simply not going to happen. And I think the expansion and the growth of the coverage we're getting now is proof positive of that. And it only gives us energy and desire to increase those figures, increase the numbers, let people know. And it is good when we go out now, we meet people, no matter where we go, Dundalk, Carrickmacross, Dublin, down to the south of Ireland, people know us, recognise us, and they're quite comfortable coming to speak to us about the case. So we know people are aware of it. We know the pressures coming on the authorities, and we want to continue that pressure. So that's a little bit about the possible outcomes of the case and what it means, obviously, to James, and definitely what it means to us, Brady family, and to Aaron's campaign, and of course to Aaron. So it just gets us a little bit closer to getting our son home. So I suppose the key points of the appeal is that the state are looking to retrial after a quashed conviction, and it comes in a situation where there was 8 counts of burglary. The theft of the Passat was included in that 8 counts. Judge Tony Hunt acquitted James and Brendan Traynor of those charges, and then all of a sudden he just picked one charge out of it and tried to bring James back into court for the theft of the Passat, a blue Passat that was allegedly used in a raid where the only eyewitnesses tell us that the car was grey or silver. So it's so pathetic and far-fetched, it just gets more and more bizarre by the day. So that's really what they're trying to do. Like, a retrial should not be allowed where the prosecution has already failed due to serious legal errors. Allowing a retrial in these circumstances rewards prosecutional failure. And it's just giving them another shot at it, continually, keep going until you get something to stick. But I do believe that the state know that it's not going to stick on James, on Jimmy. It's not going to stick, but they're buying the time again, kicking the can down the road. And unfortunately, the nature of our legal system allows that to happen. And obviously, the legal system is working hand in hand with the prosecution. So that is the situation we find ourselves in. We have to be patient, and we have to wait for what is known as due process. But obviously, you know our feelings on what due process is. And the bottom line is, tomorrow, what the prosecution and the Irish state, Lorcan, Detective Mark Phillips and Garrett Kenna, what they are looking for tomorrow breaks down into double jeopardy. And I'm sure most of you will have heard the term double jeopardy and have some understanding of it, a grasp of it, that it means you cannot be tried for the same crime twice. And that is what the Irish Banana Republic is trying to do tomorrow. That is what they're seeking permission for from the Supreme Court, the 7 judges tomorrow. Judge Tony Hunt, obviously, he relied upon Section 3 of the Criminal Procedures Act in 1983 to justify a retrial. But the appeal quite clearly shows, James's appeal and legal team quite clearly show that the law limits when a retrial can occur. That is the bottom line. And Judge Tony Hunt has applied his decision backwards, so to speak, to allow this attempt to retry James Flynn. And as we've said, it's written here, and it was never intended to allow endless re-prosecution after the conviction collapses, because it's simply not, it wouldn't be sustainable in a fair and just society, because the average person is fighting the state, they're fighting the machine, they're fighting the animal, and this is what they try to do. And indeed, we've seen it in many, many cases, particularly in Ireland, where they grind people down. And the amount of people we have met, groups and individuals, who have been hounded for 10, 20, 25, 30 years by the Irish state, continual arrests, harassment by Garda Síochána. It really is eye-opening, and I suppose unbelievable is the word. There's people we've spoken to, and the people that's approached us, it's so scary. But the idea is keep going, keep an eye on James Flynn, keep him away from his family, keep him away from his son and daughter, keep Aaron Brady locked up, keep him away from his son, keep him away from his family, and things will break down. But that's not happening. And then again, we're into, well, we've covered this in multiple scenarios, particularly with Aaron, but this is with James. Like, his constitutional rights are being absolutely trampled over. And I suppose the biggest thing, and again, a lot of you will know this, Article 38 of the Irish Constitution is right to a fair trial. And that most certainly is not happening here in these circumstances. And of course, we have Article 6 of the European Convention of Human Rights. So again, those two have been trampled all over. And hopefully that will be highlighted tomorrow, and the seven judges will come back and support those claims by James's appeal. That his human rights and his European Convention rights have been brutally broken. And of course, like everything with Aaron and with James Flynn, like tomorrow isn't just about James Flynn, although we must focus on James and his family. It's about everyone. It's about Aaron. It's about the Bradys. And indeed, it's about the Donahue family. And it's about everyone on this island, that our judicial process must be seen to be fair and to be proper. But I think over the last 5 years, we have proven quite clearly that that is not the case. And the bottom line is, James Flynn's appeal asked the Supreme Court to decide, when the state gets it wrong, does James have to pay the price, or does the law protect him? And again, just what I'm after saying is, will James be protected tomorrow? Will the decision tomorrow protect the Irish judicial system and protect the Irish public? And that is their due process. That is what these people have sworn in to do. And hopefully we will see that tomorrow. And the case is about finality, fairness, and accountability for the whole judicial system here in Ireland. Not just this microcosm of James Flynn and Aaron Brady. Our whole judicial system is on trial tomorrow, because James's appeal asks, will Irish law protect citizens from repeated prosecution or allow the state endless second chances? And endless second chances cannot be granted. And hopefully, please take the time to read details below in the description box. And just to finally finish up, I think one of Aaron's campaign supporters asked, will James's extradition warrant and the illegality surrounding that be discussed tomorrow? No. Hopefully James gets a favourable decision from tomorrow's trial, and then James will go hammer and tongue to prove and show what the Irish authorities done, all the European laws they broke in relation to James's extradition. But the extradition is not part of the illegal behaviour of Garda Síochána and the Irish state in relation to extradition is not on trial tomorrow. That will be a separate case going forward. And hopefully James will get that decision. So the bottom line is the decision, if James is exonerated, absolutely fantastic. But if not, and Supreme Court in some way allow a retrial to go ahead, I have to say we do look forward to that. And hopefully we feel that we can, or that the Irish Prosecution Service and Garda Síochána are painting themselves into a corner. So that's a brief overview of what's happening tomorrow. We will speak to you tomorrow from the courtroom or from outside the courts, and give you hopefully some idea of what's happened, what's ongoing, and what decisions we think will be made, or when the decision will come. Thank you once again. Thank you so much for all your very, very kind messages. Thank you to all the trolls for sending in all the messages, because they really do help the algorithms. You can see how it helps. So please keep coming with your silly questions and silly comments, and we'll try and work with you as best we can. And please like, comment, and share. Let's get Aaron's story out there. Let's get James's story, what has happened to James Flynn and his family. Let's get out there into the public domain. And just very quick, if just to remind people why James can't go public on social media platforms or give interviews. He has been offered multiple interviews, and obviously I would have loved to have spoken to him, sat down in front of the camera and spoken to James. But Mark Phillips, when James was granted bail in the appeal court in Clover Hill, Mark Phillips was all over the barrister and getting the barrister to stop James, put a bar in order on James going on social media about the case. Why would you do that, Mark Phillips? What are you afraid of? Under what circumstance would it benefit you for James Flynn to be silenced? Think about that now. This is the senior detective that's running this whole case against James and against Aaron, trying to block. He did block James. James can't come on and do what we are doing here, as much as he'd like to. But James will get that opportunity when this clears up. And James's knowledge of the law and the procedure and all the acts is exceptional. And that will be, you will all see that hopefully very, very shortly. So that's the reason why James can't come forward and speak for himself to the Irish public, because of Mark Phillips, the cowardly bastard stopped James from speaking. It's just wrong. But that is the society, unfortunately, we live in. So thank you once again. Please, please, please like, comment, and share. Get Aaron's story out there. Talk about it. Send a text message. Send an email. Lift the phone. Ring your local TD, your councillor, the mainstream media. If you see Aaron's name or James's name mentioned in any publication or on any social media platform, just pop in a question. Is this conviction safe? You have concerns about the conviction of these two young men. So please, please, please do that. Let's continue to make Aaron's campaign awareness grow. So thank you once again, and we'll speak to you tomorrow from Dublin. Thank you and take care.